Hey everyone, welcome back to another live Facebook video that I do every week. And this week I am talking to you about how to listen to your intuition or your gut feelings and not just the stuff that you want to hear. And the reason that I say that, the reason I say not just the stuff you want to hear, is because a lot of times when our intuition speaks to us, we like to screen it out, right? Raise your hand if you've done that. Don't want to hear all the messages it's telling you, and so we kind of only listen to the messages that we actually want to hear. So that's what I'm talking to you about today. So if you are here live on the video, or if you're watching the replay, I would love for you to drop in the comments and tell us where you are from. I know it's spring, and how's the weather over there? I'm in North Carolina. It is windy and rainy today. It's a little cold. So some of you that are new to me, hi, I'm Andrea Owen. I run the joint over here at Your Kick-Ass Life. I help very smart, high-achieving women who struggle in the areas of negative self-talk and perfectionism. I help them create courage and confidence in their life. I'm also the author of this book, 52 Ways to Live a Kick-Ass Life. And in these videos, every week I'm breaking down a different chapter. This week we are on chapter 6, listening to your gut and your intuition. So maybe you've heard about it before, maybe you haven't. So let me start kind of from the beginning. So it's your gut, your intuition, your spirit. Some people call it your soul's compass, God, the universe, a higher power. Call it what you want, but the fact of the matter is that you have one. The voice inside you that is your guiding compass. Most people get to know their intuition when they've heard it, but pushed it aside like cold green beans that they don't want to eat. Lo and behold, the situation didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, or let's be honest, things just completely fell apart. Could be a relationship, or making a big purchase, or taking a job. So how about type yes in the comments if you have ever heard your intuition and listened to it and things really went your way, or maybe you heard your intuition, didn't listen to it, and things totally fell apart because your intuition was right away and you kind of end up getting your ass kicked by your own intuition, right? And yes, it happens to all of us. If you're a follower of my podcast or my blog, you've probably heard this story before. But many years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I was on oh, Christy, it's cold in Ohio, I bet. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way of this video, you can go ahead and pop them in the comments and I'll make sure and answer them at the very end. But about 10 years ago, I went on a date with someone. And from the very first date, I'm sitting across from him at the restaurant, and there was this little voice in my head that said, something isn't right about him, but I don't know what it is. But he was handsome and charming and all of the things. And I continued to date him. And 9 months later, oh, and by the way, my intuition kind of kept getting louder and louder as the months went on. I wasn't really in a great place emotionally, so I completely ignored my intuition. And 9 months later, that relationship exploded in my face. So I've definitely been there. I know many of you have probably been there. So go ahead and type in the comments if you have ever been in that situation where you have heard the voice and just not listened to it, right? All right, I'm going to read a little bit more from this chapter because the question that I get sometimes is, I'm not even sure, I'm so out of touch with myself. I don't trust myself. I don't know what that actually is. I don't know what the whole intuition thing is. So I've actually bullet pointed a few things to help you out. So it might look like listening to your aha feelings, even if they make no sense and don't fit the picture of how you think things should be. So for me, it kind of didn't make sense that I'd be with this guy who seemed like he had everything together. I was checking off all the boxes. He looked great on paper. That feeling didn't make any sense why my intuition was saying, hey, you should probably walk away from this right now. So that is sometimes a clue. It doesn't really seem to make that much sense. Your intuition is also paying attention to your body's signals and then staying away from people who suck the energy from you. So it might be that person is just energy draining, or you're just exhausted after hanging out with them. That might be your own body's signal saying, this isn't a great personal relationship. And it also might be listening to the good kind of goosebumps as a sign to say, hell yes, when you're making a decision about something. Because your intuition also points you sometimes in the direction of good, saying like, yeah, this is it. This is a calling. This is the direction we want you to take. It doesn't necessarily always mean it's a bad thing. And then the last one is taking action on what moves and inspires you rather than only making decisions based on what seems logical on paper. So that might be a job, for instance. You might have a situation where you have two choices of what to choose from as far as jobs. Maybe one, the pay is a little bit more, but you just have this feeling that something it's not a hell yes. You can't really explain it, but you're like, the pay is better. So that seems like the logical choice, right? Then there's another job where the pay is a little bit less, but there's just an energetic feeling around it that seems to be the one that your soul is pointing to. So that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that last bullet point. So, and then some people have a hard time. We live in a very fast-paced, busy world. We're constantly being bombarded with our Facebook news feed with all kinds of different things, right? So it could be you're so out of touch with your intuition. So people ask me too, how do I even start to listen to it? How do I decipher between the noise that's going on around me and what my intuition is trying to tell me? So my advice for that is, and this might be hard for many people, is trying to slow down and doing things that help you slow your mind down. So that might be spending some time in nature. It might be, some of you listening might have a yoga practice or a meditation practice. What I hear often from people too is they tend to hear their intuition when they're doing things like washing their hair in the shower, when they are doing the dishes. That's a big one for me, when I'm just standing there doing kind of like a mundane task where I'm sort of focused on something. Some people really like coloring. So definitely think about things that slow your mind down and just relax. And that will probably allow you, and it's practice, right? You guys always hear me say turtle steps into things like this. Intuition is absolutely no exception to that rule. So one thing that, the last question that I get that I'm going to talk to you about today is people often ask me, how do I decipher between fear and my intuition? Because we often, like your inner critic, the voice in your head that's telling you all of these things, oh, you shouldn't go for that job. Is that my intuition, or is that my fear just being afraid for me to step out of my comfort zone, being afraid for me to not want to play a bigger game in my life? And they're both voices, right? So how do I know which one is my soul? How do I know which one is my truth and which one is just my fear? So I wrote about that too. And I'm just going to tell you a couple of things on how to decipher between the two. And you guys, this isn't like a hard and fast rule. This isn't like do this and this. This takes practice and just paying attention. So the first one is that fear tends to live in your head. It tends to be kind of like this constant dialogue of the what if, should I do this? Should I do this? Those like questions, like worst case scenario types things. And your intuition is in your heart and your body. Generally speaking, fear is much louder and intrusive. Intuition tends to speak to you more in a whisper that is inexplicable and is unattached to the outcome of your decision, whereas fear is insistent based on its perceived logic. Okay, I know that was a mouthful. And I'll give you one more. So fear tends to live in the land of worst possible scenario, and intuition lives in the present. So when you find yourself thinking that crazy ass fear story that all of us have swirling around in our mind, that will be your indication that you're dealing with fear and not intuition. So again, it's like that worst case scenario that tends to be fear. So really, in summary, your intuition is rooting for you. Your intuition wants you, it's looking out for you. It's always on your side. It's an invaluable tool that we all have. We just don't spend a lot of time paying attention and trying to tap into it. So that's all I got for you today. If you haven't already joined us for the free 7-day Courage Challenge, we are well underway, but you can still join us and you can catch up. We're actually on day 5 out of 7, but you can certainly catch up. It's about 10 minutes a day. So that is over at yourkickasslife.com/7-day challenge, or you can just text the word courage to 444-999. It is for women only. We have about 800 and some odd women just in the private Facebook group alone, and we would be happy to have you and welcome you. I'm going to jump over to the comments real quick and answer any questions. Sherry, been following you for a while. Thank you. You're welcome, Sherry. Thank you for being a follower of Your Kick-Ass Life. And you also asked, you have a tip on how to discern your intuition from your thinking. Drop it in the comments. I would love to hear it, Sherry. And like anybody who is watching would probably love to hear it too. I'm always up for you guys giving your tips as well. This is a community. Always, always, always glad to hear what you are doing in your life that is working. Because, hey, if it's working, by all means, run with it. And Shauna says she has a problem or practice relaxing. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Shauna. And yes, I'm with you. It is definitely a practice, right? Because we're constantly moving, going faster. What's the next thing? What's on my to-do list? What do I have to do later today? Who do I need to take care of? Who's texting me? I've got to return these emails, and on and on. It can be tough to slow down and listen. So Sherry, okay, you said first person, it's my own thought and fears. Third person, it's intuition or guidance. Try it sometime. Listen to your thoughts and listen to the person from which it's spoken. I love that, Sherry. You must be somebody who really, truly dives into personal development and works on yourself. Good for you, girl. And that is it for today. I really got to get this lighting situation figured out. I'm like all lit up, pale and tragic looking. So I will see you guys. I'm usually here on Thursdays at noon Eastern time. I was chaperoning a field trip yesterday, so I couldn't be here. And next week is the next chapter. We are on one of my favorites, Bad Relationships Are Great Life Lessons. Oh, no, actually, that's the week after. Next week is Stop Apologizing and People Pleasing. Any chronic apologizers and people pleasers in the house? Join me on next Thursday at noon Eastern time here, and we'll go over that chapter. Okay? I will see you next week. Bye.